The day has finally arrived. The new 5th generation Supra is here. But this car hasn't been without its controversy. With BMW's involvement in the Supra project, the automotive world is questioning whether or not this is a real Supra. But what is a real Supra? To understand that, well, we have to go back.
Your host for Motor Week 93, John Davis.
Well, hello and welcome again to Motor Week 93. Glad to have you with us.
No, this is not some concept car of the future, but Toyota's very latest Supra.
This is a 1994 Toyota Supra Turbo, and this is the image that comes to the forefront of every car enthusiast's mind when the name Supra is uttered. Now, there were 3 generations of Supra prior to this one, but this is the car that cemented its place as a JDM legend. That legendary status was earned not only through its timeless looks and bulletproof reliability, but also with its raw performance. The Supra's engine came from the factory with 320 horsepower, but it wasn't the numbers that people remember today. It was how capable the 2JZ engine was. This unassuming iron inline-6 engine could not only take mountains of boost, propelling horsepower numbers well into the 4-digit range, but it could do so for hundreds of thousands of miles.
Now, one of the main things though is that attached to that 2JZ motor was this 6-speed transmission. It's not the best 6-speed, let's be honest. It's a little clunky in its operation, a little rubbery.
Okay.
As far as like the funness of this car, a lot of it did have to do with this 6-speed manual transmission.
It's the aspect of the whole driver's car experience.
Exactly,
right?
and that's the thing. Beyond the transmission, of course, this car had a Torsen LSD like most Toyota sports cars do. Of course, rear-wheel drive.
Of course.
Because front engine rear-wheel drive is the, layout for fun.
Paired with that was well-damped suspension and a chassis that was not only rigid enough to be competent on the racetrack, but also playful enough to be a canyon carver that didn't spit you out at the limit.
This car, like a lot of Toyota cars of the same vintage, the 8.6s and stuff, great balance. They were easy to drive. They were very approachable to drive. And you could really just kind of tiptoe. When you got to that limit, you could be like, okay, a little steady state understeer as I come in, add the throttle and just kind of dance on that limit of grip. And that is one of the things that Toyota does extremely well.
That playful personality is what made so many people fall in love with Toyota sports cars in the 80s and 90s. But can Toyota reproduce that same personality in the 5th generation Supra? Many enthusiasts are apprehensive not only because it's been nearly 3 decades since the release of the last Supra, but also because of the unknown influence of its BMW DNA. The only real way to find out is to drive it. So drive it we did. Not only on the beautiful Virginia backroads, but also on track at Summit Motorsports Park. Now, while many were just concerned with how this car stacked up against its modern-day rivals, we were focused on one thing only. Can this car live up to the Supra name? The first thing on the agenda, of course, is the engine. Designated the B58, this 3-liter inline-6 is boosted with a single twin-scroll turbo, putting out 335 horsepower and 365 pound-feet of torque. Not a huge bump over the Mark IV's 2JZ power plant. However, the B58's quick-spooling turbo and wide torque curve make the Mark V's power band much more usable, both on the street and the track.
It's a very responsive motor, and again, there's an indication it'll be good to tune, but we don't know yet.
Yeah, we don't know. One thing that's good, ECU is open.
ECU is open. Right? As far as it's a typical BMW ECU, so it should be easy to crack. All the typical BMW stuff, should work with this car. Next, transmission.
As an automatic, it's a very good automatic.
It's really good. There's a lot of good implementations now, and this is up there. The stick's a little weird, very plain looking.
It's shaped differently than the Z4.
It is. Not to say that it's better. Okay, look, if this car came with a manual and an auto, it'd be awesome.
Yeah,
people would
because this is a fantastic auto.
Because it's a fantastic auto, and I'm sure they would have paired it with a good manual too. Yeah. There's no manual right now. We'll keep making a hubbub about it, you know? And maybe eventually there will be a manual. If not, people are going to start making swap kits, I assure you. So evaluating this car as it is, it's a good automatic.
Yeah.
It's way better than the A340 automatic that's in my silver Supra and, you know, the Supra Mark IV. But dude, how far have torque converters come?
Oh my God.
Those automatics were trash.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, even like CVTs nowadays are better than those things. These things are like up there with double clutches.
It shifts very quickly. When sport, it's very responsive.
Yeah.
In the balance mode, it's
smooth.
It's smooth.
It's smooth, exactly.
Like,
Like what it does what a torque converter should do,
Yeah.
which is like just cruise.
And it sounds great.
Yeah, with
When
the,
it was
with
getting
the-
those shifts.
Yeah, that's good. The wheel and tire package, good tire, lots of mechanical grip. The suspension, good suspension, definitely street oriented.
Yeah.
Even in its stiffest setting, the Supra eats up the bumpy Virginia back roads, potholes and all. Overall, the suspension is tuned to be more of a road car. Repeated hot laps on the tight Summit Point circuit didn't seem to phase the Supra's brakes, but a higher speed track would be a more telling testbed for the Supra's admittedly unassuming setup.
Soft pedal, a little bit soft pedal, and like I guess we're comparing to the 8.6. It's not a soft pedal.
Right.
The pedal effort is fine, and the feel is fine. But then, of course, the crown jewel is the chassis.
It's rigid. It handled everything brilliant.
Takes the bumpy stuff on the back roads. Obviously, it'll hit the rumble strips on track. Again, you always know what's going on, and it's predictable. All of that, you know, good motor, good trans, approachable chassis, a capable chassis, all for a reasonable price, 49 grand. I mean, like certainly, like this is Cayman S performance for much less than Cayman S money.
Yeah, for sure.
Is it faster than a Cayman S? I don't know. We'd have to drive one back to back, but it's up there. It's in the same ballpark as a Cayman S, but it's cheaper by a long way.
Yeah.
So
that's what we could say for sure.
yeah, it is cheaper by a long way. Again, overall package, it's a great car.
Yeah.
Judging it completely by itself, it's a fantastic car.
Yeah.
Okay?
But is it a good Supra?
If we were to compare it to the Mark IV we just drove, this car objectively is better in every single way. And I mean objectively, meaning like performance-wise,
Talking bullet
chassis-wise,
points.
yeah, all your bullet points, everything's better. It makes more horsepower and torque, but not only does it make more horsepower and torque, the motor is by far more usable. Like it makes power much sooner, much wider power band, you know, much less peaky. The transmission, no manual, but as far as autos go, it's fast. The chassis, miles away. Miles away. The Mark IV is old. It's near 30 years old. Targa tops, etc., etc.
Yeah.
It was a flexi car, okay? This car is probably roughly 4 to 4.5 times as rigid as that car is. And it shows. It absolutely shows. It's just 30 years of technology.
It's not just the chassis that's advanced in those 30 years either. The Mark V comes with 8 airbags and a full safety suite that is constantly working to keep you in one piece on your morning commute. All that while still shedding weight compared to the previous generations of Supra.
Objectively, definitely a step ahead of the Mark IV, of course. And like, I think that was to be expected, right? We knew that it was going to be better, but is it a better Supra?
Right. Well, what made that Supra such a great Supra was the community. So then the onus is back on the owners.
Is it a good platform for people to do that with? So that's the thing. The Mark IV, you could do whatever you wanted with it. And some people did track builds, some people did drift builds, some people did drag builds, some people did show builds. People made it their own. And then the name grew, of course, Fast and Furious, etc., etc. And then eventually the Supra became the legend it is. This car, from the outset, seems like it has that kind of tuning mentality that's put into it. Tada-san's always talking about, hey, you could do this and turn the boost up, and like you could put a cooler here and make more power, and it's like, okay, he's in that mindset already. Tada-san understands that like it's the community and the tuning and the personalization that's gonna make this car, and not just what they do.
In fact, Toyota has already let US tuners get their hands on a Supra through SEMA Garage. Dozens of shops from across the country came to measure and scan every nook and cranny of the new Supra in preparation for designing their own parts for the platform.
Hopefully that will yield a lot for the aftermarket.
I think so, yeah. And like, look at Daigo Saito's drift car. Toyota gave him a pre-production car, and they ripped it apart and put a 2JZ in it, and Tada-san was like, it was just like perfect. It was like he wanted that to happen. They have the right idea, Toyota does, as far as what this car needs to do, as far as like the community and like how it needs to function, what its place is, and that will build the Supra legacy.
The aftermarket that seems to be in place.
Yeah, and like certainly now, I guess, after we saw the 8.6, right? It was sort of a primer for this car. It kind of got everyone back into the tuner scene.
The elephant in the room, however, is whether or not the Supra can actually differentiate itself from the Z4. The only way to know for sure is to drive them both, and while we haven't had the chance to get into a Z4 ourselves, it seems that the journalists who have feel that both cars have distinct personalities from one another. This isn't surprising considering that Toyota and BMW only worked on the base platform together before splitting off and designing each of their cars independently.
As far as is this a sports car, I'm gonna have to say,
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to say
for sure.
yes.
And does it feel like a Toyota? Yeah.
Yep.
Toyotas are like, they're never about ultimate performance. They're always about like this like fun, this playfulness.
And
this car
this
has
is
that
very
playfulness.
playful, absolutely.
Yeah. It's approachable, it's playful.
Now there are certain things that will make you say, well, absolutely not Toyota.
The stocks, I drive, you know, like
yeah, the chimes.
the chimes, the brung, brung.
This,
Oh,
the
little-
door locks.
Wow. Why do you do that, BMW? That's weird, man. That's like, old cars have that, dude. And then like, you're gonna see BMW logo stamped on a bunch of stuff, but guess what? It's BMW supply chain. We've talked about this. It's Magna Steyr. It's not BMW manufacturing, but it's through BMW supply chain.
Yeah.
Look, get over it. Again, drive the cars. That's what they're about. It doesn't matter. Subaru stamped on everything on an 8.6, but I guarantee you, it doesn't feel like a WRX.
So then, back to the question at hand. Is this a real Supra? Some of you may still be doubtful, because a car that was made in conjunction with BMW could never be a true Toyota, could it? Well, the fact of the matter is this. Without BMW, this car would have never existed. This partnership was not simply an effort in cost cutting. Rather, this was the only avenue through which the Supra could make its return. Ever-tightening emissions, noise, and fuel economy regulations would have made the development of a simple, focused, gas-powered sports coupe unrealistic past 2020. And Toyota evaluated a solo Supra project to take them over a decade. With BMW, Toyota managed to bring us this car in 7 years, just in the nick of time to dodge changing global regulations. Despite all that though, Toyota has somehow not only managed to make an incredibly capable sports coupe, but one that retains a distinct Toyota feeling, and one that keeps a firm grasp on its lineage. Whether or not the Mark V Supra will become as legendary as the Supras before it, only time will tell. From what we can see though, it certainly has a fighting chance.